Okay, is everybody ready with your own R? Okay. Is there anybody still have difficulties or problem using R? Because there is a participant who tell me there is or he or she found difficulty of some stuff in R. Please let me know. I can help you now. Okay, now we open the codes name 2 underscore 1 generating nonlinear A star data. So actually we will generate the data following this model. But in the code, I wrote two model which are linear and nonlinear. The nonlinear one following this star model. Okay, so let's say we start with setting the seed. Actually, if we do not set this seed, we will generate uh, randomly. We will generate data randomly, which possibly different from my generating data and with your generating data. So let's say we just put one, so it make that the initial value in generating number procedure is same. Okay, let's run this code. We firstly generate 4,000 data. Okay, using a uniform distribution. So this is the function in R. R is for randomize. Randomize data following uniform distribution with number of generating data is 4,000. And then the parameter in uniform distribution is the lower bound and upper bound. So we generate data with lower bound is -1 and upper bound 1. So our data will be in between these two values, right? Okay. Then we make this first 7 observation become 0. Okay, let's check that. Okay, now we have 4,000 number of generating data, and then now we generate the data. See how is the data. We can do this. Okay, this is the data actually. It display only 1,000 data, and the remaining data are not displayed in the monitor. Yeah, because it occupying the space in the monitor, right? It only display 1,000 data, and then we make the first 7 data become 0. Okay, let me first check the original generated data is like this. So this is the first 7 data. This is the first 7 data, which are not 0. But now when we execute this command, it means the data in the cell 1 until 7 become 0, right? Okay, let's do this, and let me check again. So let's see. Yeah, now the first until the seventh observation are 0. Yeah, it doesn't matter because anyway, we want to develop or we want to generate data following this model that of course the data will xt will start from h, yeah, because let's say this is t equal to h, then t minus 7, so this is h minus 7, so this is x1. The output is 8 xh, and the input is x1 because t minus 7. So actually we do not need this first uh, 7 data, yeah. Okay, now we copy the data into different variable, x1 for linear data and then x2 for non-linear. So we just copy the value to another variables, and then now we generate this linear and non-linear data. So this is linear actually. This is linear, and the second is non-linear, yeah. Yeah, actually we generate from h until n. N is 4,000. Yeah, why start from h? Yeah, it is because we want to generate the data following a star 1 order 7. So it means t start from h. Okay. Okay, first we generate error following normal distribution. We generate only one data. Yeah, because we generate for every I, for every single observation, we generate one noise with mean equal to 0 and standard deviation equal to half. Okay. And then we generate linear process following that this is xt, so we can change I with to make it same as the slide. I change I become t, yeah. This is t to make it same as in the slide, but it is doesn't matter actually. You can leave it still I, or you can also change to t. It is doesn't matter. Okay. The linear data follows minus 0.9 time x t minus 7 plus error, which the error follows normal distribution. Okay. And then this is the A star 7 model. 6.5 times x t minus 7 multiplied by exponential of 0 a quarter times x t minus 7 square. Yeah, I'm sorry, because this is square, yeah, just multiplied by itself. Sorry, this is x t minus 7 square. Okay, if we run this data, then of course we can check this is our data. This is x1 and this is x2. Okay, we can make a plot of it. I will make the data be a time series format. So this is S So TS is time series, S time series. Okay, let's check the plot. So this is the data with a non-linear pattern. There are many. There are 4,000 minus 7 data. So there are 3,093 data. So this data is linear. Okay, and then, or I will make like this. I want to make the plot. I'm sorry, this is too large margin. Yeah, okay, I can do like this. So this is actually in the data. There are 3,093 generated data, right? Okay, but in the next code, we do not use all this generated data. We cut the data. We only use the data start from 3,601. It means we delete the data, the generated data until 300, 3,600. Why? Yeah, if we learn about simulation technique, the early generated data, which is here, this value is influenced by the initial value on the seed. And then when it is far from the early generated period, the data become more and more random. Yeah. So now we only use the data start from 3,601. So it means we only use the last 400 data, right? Okay, we execute this. This is linear, x1 is linear, and x2 non-linear. And then we make this plot. Sorry, my plot appear here. Can you easily differentiate which one is linear and which one is non-linear if we do not know the process how it is generated? Let's say if I give you two time series plot like this and I ask you, please show me which one is linear and which one is non-linear. Yeah, of course, it's quite difficult if we only use eyes to differentiate whether it is linear or non-linear. Of course, we can test using non-linear test like Ramsey test, White test, Terrace-Virta test that I already informed in my slide. You can download the paper and you can learn further. But I will not explain more or mathematically or even the code. I leave it because we know actually the first picture are time series plot for linear data and the second one is non-linear because we generated that. But I mean in case we have the data which we do not know exactly it is linear or non-linear because we receive the data, we do not generate the data, then first step we need to do is to check its linearity or non-linearity. Okay. Okay, I close this one. Then we can go further by making lag plot. Okay. Okay, we have lag plot like this. Okay, we can see that this is the plot of xt, the generated data, with its lags or with its value at lag 1. Okay, so this is xt and xt minus 1. Maybe I need to, okay, I will write, this is x1, yeah, this is x1. Okay, say we have the data I can write like this. This is x1. This is x1. And this is the lag of x1 at lag 1. So how the data will be? So this is the data like this. Yeah. So this plot is the scatter plot of xt with xt minus 1 because it is like 1. So this one. So we can skip the first row and the last row because it is like 1. So we have 399 remaining data or 399 pairs of data between xt and xt minus 1. So how it look like? Okay, and also for xt and xt minus 2, so we change this. Yeah, this is the data, or I want to see for, okay, here. Okay, to save the space, okay, I'll write like this. So this is x1 or xt with it like to observation. So we make scatter plot of this value until the end, and we got this graphs. Okay, let's go direct to leg 7. Leg 7 show a strong relationship, right? If we detect the relationship between two variables, if the scatter plot of two variables show a strong pattern following the line, it means it has a strong relationship, because the slope going downward, so it means xt and xt minus 7 has strong negative relationship. Yeah. But for xt and xt minus 14, it has strong positive relationship because it's going upward, right? Okay, and so on and so forth. So this is for x1, which is actually a linear data with linear pattern. I just want to make detail about this graph, how it was created. Okay, next we make plot for autocorrelation function and partial autocorrelation function. It look like this, where the autocorrelation function in leg 7, leg 14, leg 21, and next leg at multiplication of 7, it has significant values. Also for partial autocorrelation function, it's significant at leg 7. Okay. And then also for x2 is for nonlinear data. We create the leg plot. Okay. Okay, this is the leg plot. You can see that in scatter plot between x2 or xt with its leg at its value at leg 7, it shows nonlinearity pattern, right? And also for leg 14, there is still non-linearity there, but when the legs get higher, this nonlinear relationship disappear. Let's see in 27, and then after 28, and so on and so forth, the strong pattern get disappear. So the strongest one is in leg 7. Leg 14 still have strong influence. Okay. Then we also compute the autocorrelation function and partial autocorrelation function. It shows that at leg 7 and its multiplication, the ACF and BSCF value are significant. Okay. And then we can save the data by using this command, write table the data. We only save the nonlinear data, but if you want to save the linear data, it's up to you. Okay, what we need is nonlinear data because we want to analyze it using neural network, which is we know that neural network is nonlinear model. Okay. Okay, then we will have this file in our working directory. So actually this if I sort it by date modified, so this is in the first row, it means it is most recently created. This is just less than 1 minute ago. So actually I already have this file before, but I run again and save again. It means it replaced the previous one. And I also already upload this data in the Google Drive. Yeah. Okay. If we open the data, it is like this. Yeah, it is in text format in .txt. Yeah. Okay. Do you have questions so far? No question. Is it clear? So when we write paper, it is better to, if we want to publish in very good journal, in the top tier journal, typically when we develop a model with a very significant novelty, it is much better if we make the analysis on the study complete by adding the simulation study, right? And this is example of how we generate the data following certain model. And then once we generate the data, we save its simulation data, and then we use it in further analysis, like for example, to test or to apply our proposed novel method. We make study in our simulation data, and then next also we apply to the real data. I think if we have three component in the paper, like we have a novel development of certain model or approach, and then we make a study, simulation study, and we apply to the real data. I think this three component makes our paper complete, and of course it will make the probability to be accepted in the good journal get higher, right? Okay, clear. Okay, now we go to the second code. This is neural network, which is applied to analysis the simulated data and the data that just generated. Okay, we go to this 2 underscores 2. Okay. Okay. Okay, we use this package, neural net. Actually, in my slide, I show, yeah, at least two package about neural network, which is neural net and NNet. And of course, there are many others package for neural network, but in our exercise of this workshop, we use library neural net. In case you do not install this package yet, please install it first. If you use RStudio, it's quite easy because RStudio will automatically detect whether the package you write in the script is installed or not yet. And then they suggest to install it. But if you use console R on the original R, you need to check it. How to check it? We just run this code. Yeah, of course, sometime there is a warning. It is not error, but it is just warning because there is the higher version of this package. And then my R is 4.0.4. So I do not install the newest one. Therefore, there is warning that the package actually already upgraded to the latest version of R, but my install R is not that the newest version. So this appear. Don't worry, I just need to recall again this function. If it is or they were installed already, so it will successful like this. Otherwise, there will be message and the package is not available. So we need to install it. Is there anyone do not know how to install package in R? Okay, if we use RStudio, it's quite easy. We go to menu package in the right bottom Windows, and then we just click install, and then we wait for the pop-up menu message appear, and then afterward we can write what's the package we need to install. Let me check neural net. Okay, neural net. Okay, actually I already installed, but okay, it doesn't matter. I just reinstall. I click yes, then it will be automatically installed. Yeah, or I need to update maybe. I need to update neural net. Okay, I can leave it. Or if you use R console, you can use this command install packages. Yeah, and you write in this neural net like this. Yeah, enter. Yeah, it will, because it is being used now. There are message like this. Otherwise, it will automatically install. Okay, I click cancel. Now we use or we read the data. The name is data nonlinear.txt. We read the data and we split the data into training data set, which is 1 until 393, and we have remaining 7 observation. Yeah, because actually we have 400 observation, and the last 7 observation are assigned as testing data set. Okay, we have this one, and then we plot again the like plot, which is just want to check is there any strong pattern showing linearity or non-linearity amongst the variable and its select. Okay, so like the data in leg 1, leg 2, it show there is no relationship or very weak relationship. Why? Because the data spread randomly. Yeah, there is no pattern. So we can say leg 1 is not related to the variable xt, or there is not significant relationship between the variable and its leg one. Okay. Okay, this is the pre-processing procedure. Yeah, we compute the mean, we compute the standard deviation, and then we scale. Yeah, we scale. What kind of pre-processing data using scale? So just go to help here, go to a scale, right? Go to menu help and type scale and click. Yeah, there is help there. What kind of scale? Scale is generic function whose default method. So the default method centers and or scale the column of numeric metric. So this is the center, this is scale. Scale mean we need to know how it compute using scale. So scale can be the data minus the minimum value over the maximum value minus the minimum value. This is like 0, 1 scaling. So this is the explanation. Each column X has corresponding values from center subtracted from it. So the value is subtracted by the center value or the mean value or the average value. If the center is true, then centering is done by subtracting the column means of X from this corresponding column. And if center is false, there is no centering is done. And then the value of scale determine how column scaling is performed after the centering. So the data minus by its average, this procedure is called a centering, right? Okay. Then now we determine the predictor. So we have the data like this. We only have the time series data. Say in this code, we name this x2 as yt, right? Because like this, read, and then we name is training, and then we compute the mean, we compute the standard deviation, and we have the data with name YT standardized, STT standardized. And now we need the input, the input of this. When we have time series data, when we want to apply neural network, the question is, what are the input? What are the feature? So we can use leg value as input. The next question is, in which leg? At leg 1, leg 2, or leg 7, leg P, or what? So we learn from this leg plot. From leg plot, it informed that in leg 7 there is relationship, even it is linear or non-linear. Because in other leg plot, it shows the weak or not significant relationship because they spread randomly. But in leg 7, it show very strong relationship. Therefore, we choose leg 7 as the input. We choose leg 7 as predictor. Therefore, we need to write like this. This is just to write in simple way. Actually, we can use another function using leg in bracket the name of variable and then comma and we put 7. We can do like that. But here we make it simpler. Yeah. So this is the data at leg 7. So it's mean this is the data from age until 393 because we left the remaining 7 observation as testing data set. So now we only have 393, 393, yeah, 393. And then it start from 8 because we use leg 7 as input. It means there is a shifting 7 observation from leg 7 to the time series variable. Okay, we choose, okay, I need to call this. Okay, this is leg 7 and then this is time series. And we combine the data into data train and then it look like this. Yeah. The data, or if I make it more, okay, head, okay, if we, okay, see, we can check if this is in the row 1, leg 7 should be here. Yeah. This is the leg 7. The value is same as here. I'm sorry. So we need to do like this one and this one. Okay, let me check. It is leg 7. Yeah, actually there are some round procedure. It is actually same with this one, but at the end they round it up. Yeah, round it up, but actually the same. Okay. Then we want to apply a multi-layer perceptron using the function neural net with the output is Y-trend standardized and the input is the leg 7, the time series value at leg 7, and we only use single hidden layer. We only have single hidden layer with number of neuron equal to 5. So it's mean we have like this, only single hidden layer with number of node equal to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So like that. And then we use activation function is tangent hyperbolic. And then the linear output is true. In the linear output, this is in linear output is true. So there is linear activation function in the output. And there's the tangent hyperbolic in the hidden layer. Okay, then we run. Okay, it takes time, but it's quite fast. then this is how it look like. This is the estimated weight. So if we have the theory like this there is the parameter of coefficient, and then there is another one for intercept. Now we estimate that value. Okay, this is the estimated weight coefficient. Okay, then of course we can write that estimate to this become beta 0 hat, and then beta 1 hat, beta 2 hat, until beta q hat, and so on. Okay, then we can try another architecture. Now we change that the hidden layer, there are 2 hidden layer with 10 neuron in the first hidden layer and 5 neuron in the second hidden layer. So it will be look like, let's go to, let's find it. Okay, this is like this. Yeah, like this, but there are only single output. Yeah, there are 2 hidden layer with 10 neuron and 5 neuron in each hidden layer respectively. Okay, then the estimated coefficient will be like this. Yeah, there are there are 10 neuron here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And there are 5 neuron in the second hidden layer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have the estimate for every coefficient there. So this is a 1. This is for the intercept. Okay. Okay. Do you have questions so far? May I know how to determine the number of leg? Is it based on significant value based on that leg? Okay. How to determine the number of leg? So there are 2 things we can do. First, we make this leg plot. We make the scatter plot for each variable to each leg from leg 1 until whatever you want, like 100 for example. And then you try to learn in which leg it shows strong relationship. Then we only select the leg where it shows strong relationship. Okay, this is the first alternative we can do. The second one, we can make the plot of partial autocorrelation function. So this plot will relate to the partial autocorrelation function. The partial autocorrelation function at leg 7 will be significant. I believe that you can prove it. Yeah, so we can use a scatter plot or of leg plot, or we can use partial autocorrelation function. And there are also the very easy approach. We can choose leg 1, leg 2, leg 3, leg 4 until leg, whatever we want. Let's say until leg 30, for example. So here we need to add more leg. So let's say leg 1, leg 2, leg 3, leg 4, leg 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 until 20, for example. And then we add this model. This is on the response, the output. This is the input, and we plus the leg 1 plus leg 2 plus leg 3. So it is like a trial and error. Yeah, even it is trial and error, it also work. So you just try to yeah, maybe you can try like 1, can try like 2, can try like 3, or you can try like 1 until like 3, 1 like 1 until like 10, like 1 until like whatever you want. So this is just like trial and error without scientific tool. Yeah, you just make sense. It makes sense. Just try it like that. It is also possible. So either two can use the determinant. Yes, we can use the scatter plot of the leg, or we call this leg plot, or we can use the partial autocorrelation function. If we use uh, autocorrelation function, remember yesterday, autocorrelation function is the tool to identify the moving average model. Yeah, but for autoregressive model, we use partial autocorrelation function. So it's mean, let's say if we want to consider both the partial autocorrelation function and also the, I'm sorry, the autoregressive term and also moving average term. So it's mean we need to go uh like this so-called recurrent neural network. If we want to consider also the moving average part, so like this. So this is like we regress the input, certain input with we have activation function there, we have the value, and we can compute a certain thing, and it go back to re-entering. So it is recurrent. Yeah. So the recurrent structure typically used to capture the uh, some kind of like moving average pattern. But in our case, okay, yeah, we use leg plot here. Okay, yeah, okay, I think it is understood. Okay, this is the exercise for neural network with, okay, still with single input, right? Single input. Now we can try how if the input more than one. So let's say like 7 and then like 14 or other like. It is also possible. To do that, we need to go to the next code 2 underscore 3 selecting base neural network. So we can try this. If you do not have a problem need to be discussed, or you do not find difficulties need to be helped, you can go to the next code 2 underscore 3. Can open it. Yeah, okay, this is the code. Okay, please try it and I will discuss further. Okay. Did you try it? Okay, I will run my code and then we discuss the output, yeah. Okay, it repeat the previous step, plotting the lag plot. And it show that it like 7, 14, so strong relationship. And then now we use a different architecture, or we try this combination. We try that the neuron is equal to 1, equal to 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, and 15. And we want to forecast 7 period ahead, and we determine the seed. The initial seed is determined like in this vector, and then we make the we make a variable to save the output from the result produced by the neural network. Okay, this is empty variable used for save for saving the output. And then here we compute, okay, sequential along the neuron. So we have K repeat until the number of neuron. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7 value of neuron. So K will increase from 1 until 7. But the value is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, and 15. Okay, we still use the single input with the number of neuron. We try this. So if K equal to 1, so we try 1 neuron. If K equal to 2, we try 2 neuron. If K equal to 7, we try 15 neuron. So the neuron follows the value in index K, right? And then this neural network model we assign as the best model, and then we get the fit value, the predicted value or forecasted value, and then we because actually this scale pre-processing, it's make the standardization. So we subtract the data by mean value, and then we divide by the standard deviation. Therefore, here, because the data used to build the model is scale value, the scale here is the standardized value. Therefore, we need to turn back to the original value. Therefore, we need to multiply by its standard deviation and plus the mean value. So this calculation is used to return back the predicted value to the original scale. Why? Because in the previous step, we use the data in scale value. The scale here is the standardization. Yeah, okay. Then we make the plot, and then also we make forecast. This is the forecast. We have 7 period ahead for forecasting. Then when we need we forecast, we need to determine the predictor being used for forecasting. This is how we determine the predictor read by the build model to produce the forecasting value. Yeah. So actually we copy the standardized data, and then we add with number of horizon we want to forecast. This is 7. We want to forecast. I'm sorry. This is forecast. Yeah, this is 7. We want to forecast 7 period ahead. So it means we add the data with 0, 7 time. This is just empty file, empty variable. We need to save the forecasted value. And then this is how we compute the forecasted value. Using compute, we insert or substitute the predictor in the period of forecasting to the model, and then we get the forecasted value, and we read only the net result, because of course there are many output, and then we read the forecasted value, and then we make like this. We turn back to the original scale by multiplying with standard deviation plus the mean value. Okay, and then we run this code. Yeah, we run this code. Yeah, because it tries several combination. Yeah, it appear like this. Okay, it finish. Then I compute the sorry, this is the plot of because my the windows for graphs is here, so it appear here. So if I want the graphs appear in the windows of the windows embedded in this RStudio, I need to close this active windows, which is outside in the RStudio, and then I need to rerun again my code. Yeah, I rerun my code. Okay, rerun my code to this. So this is actually the value that I can write here. I'm sorry, this is simulation study. This is the table. It is for the data we download from Google Trends. So we will do it later to complete this table. Now it is still for simulation data. Yeah, this is root mean square error in training and also in testing, and the mean absolute error in training and testing, and mean absolute percentage error in training as testing. This is the value. Okay. This is for neuron, number of neuron equal to 1, number of neuron 2, until the number of neuron 15. Then we want to create the plot. Yeah, the plot shows that, okay, the plot shows that when we have 3 neuron, the value of root mean square error decrease, and then if we increase the number of neuron, it does not help to reduce the root mean square error. So it's mean 3 neuron is enough. 3 neuron is enough, because if we add more neuron, it does not help to decrease the root mean square error, right? And also it happened to, if we use mean absolute error, 3 neuron is enough. Also for mean absolute percentage error, if we increase the number of neuron greater than 3, it does not help to reduce the MAPE. So in this case, right, we see that 3 neuron is enough. Okay. Okay, or we can see clearly from the graphs. Okay, next we create another plot. This is the estimation. Okay, because we have seven, yeah, this is the problem in RStudio. If the space for graph is not big enough, the legend will be displayed covering the graphs. Okay. Okay, this is how the testing dataset and also the forecasted value, if we use neuron equal to 1, neuron equal to 5. I'm sorry, I should or we should add the, if the neuron equal to 3, because neuron 3 is enough. Yeah, I forget to add that, but you can do it later. Okay, if we have such kind of graph, it is not good, particularly if we want to submit into a journal for publication, it is not good, right? Yeah, because the space is not enough to display all the graph. So we can do like this. We can do like this. For example, I start from here, yeah, start from here. We can write like this: win grabs, okay, win grabs. So when we execute this command, run, then we have the windows outside the RStudio, right? Then I think it is big enough to display all the component inside the graphs. Let's do it. Okay, now we have this. Okay, let's see in the plot. So this is the plot. Okay, so this is the plot, right? Yeah, and the black line is the original data set. The color line is the forecasted value. We can see that several forecasted value, they have like the same upper and lower value. Like this is blue and red. I think they cannot go more dynamic because its range is only in that area. Okay, but anyway, our focus in the out sample dataset or in testing dataset, we can see which is the closest to the black line, the original one. Okay, yeah, we can see it clearly. Okay, then I can continue to create another plot. Okay, if now I am working in this active windows, if I create another plot, the new plot will replace this existing plot or the active plot. Yeah. Thus, if we want to have another graphs without replacing this existing graph, so we can add more again the win graphs. Okay, this win graphs, and we can do for others. Okay, here. Okay, to create new Windows graphics. Okay, now we have the new active Windows, and then we execute the code to produce the plot. Okay. Here. So it will be like this. We see that the forecasted value produced from the neural network with only one neuron, it produce the forecasted value like in the red color line. If we use a number of neuron 5, we have, I'm sorry, the color should be changed to make it visible, but doesn't matter, we can do later. And then if we have 10 and 15, but actually if we have 3 neuron, it will be look like same. So just neuron 5, 10 and 15 and 3, they produce the almost same value. They forecast with the same value. Okay. And then next, I want to plot the testing dataset. I create the new Windows graphics to avoid replacing the existing graphs. Okay, I have new Windows and then I plot it. Okay. Okay, this is okay, I'm sorry. I should make the setting like this. So okay, let me do it here. Sorry. Let me make like this. We make the windows be 2 row and 2 column. 2,2. So okay, here I'm active here, and then I create it's become okay. This is 2 column and 2 row. Make the first plot. Okay, it will be like this. Okay, the second one until the fourth. Okay, so we have this, this graphs. Okay. Okay, Hopefully you can follow. Okay. Do you find any difficulties? Can you produce the same plot? Please let me know if you cannot produce the same plot. Maybe in certain line we need to adjust the code. Okay. Yeah, we have break in the next 8 minutes. Do you have question? Please let me know if you have question. I want to ask, how can we be sure that adding more neuron would lead to overfitting? Yeah, how we know? Yeah, we should check like what we have done. Actually, we do not know in the beginning. We do not know how many the optimal number of neuron. So we should create a scenario. I will try the number of neuron at this values, and then we try it. But like we have seen in the output, when we start increasing the neuron after number of neuron 3, 4, 5, there is no or the pattern show that there is no uh, increment in the accuracy, or there is no uh, decrement in the error. So we can stop adding the number of neuron. But the example here, we try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 like that. But it is also possible we try one and then maybe not one, maybe two, and then three, and then four, and then five. If there is no improvement, maybe we can stop. But remember, please remember, like our example, actually, uh, we stop increasing the number of neuron. It is only work given if we have appropriate input, right? Because it is simulation, we already choose the leg 7 as our input. Therefore, we sure that our input is, yeah, I think the best input. And then now we try to find the optimal number of neurons. So we can start from the small growing into the large number of neurons. But remember, given we have appropriate input. In case of we analyze the real data, right? We do not know because we do not simulate the data. We do not know the most appropriate. Of course, we can identify by using leg plot and then PACF, and then we choose the that we think it is most appropriate. given we sure that this is the most appropriate, then we can play with the number of neurons, right? Because if the appropriate input is not settled yet, of course there is combination between input and number of neuron. There are many combination, right? So it can happen. So firstly, like in this slide, like sorry, in this slide, we write like this. Yeah, if it is a classification or regression, we can start from determine the number of neuron. But if it is time series forecasting, it is better to start from choosing the input, right? Why? Because in classification and regression, we already have a certain input, right? We have the a number of predictor. We can use just choose all the predictor and put in the model, and we try to optimize the neuron number of neuron. But if we are working with time series forecasting, particularly it is univariate time series forecasting, we only have one variable, but we need to determine which is the input. Of course, the input is its like, right? So we can start from selecting the we assume it is most appropriate input, and we then optimize the node, and then afterward we can go back to the one if we think that the input is not appropriate yet, or we can improve it. So to the question that how can we sure that adding more neuron would lead to overfitting? Yeah, once we believe we believe that the input we select is most appropriate, then we try the combination of node. It is better to make scenario from small growing up to the large number of node, and then we can try it not directly so many alternative, but we can try it one by one. Let's say if we have 2 neuron, and then we have 5 neuron, we have 10 neuron, we have 15 neuron, and then we see the output, whether it leads to overfitting, or it leads to constant, or it leads to other way around, and then we can stop at certain number of neuron. Is it clear, Dr. Hafiz? Is my answer can be easily understood? Okay, or you can also follow this scenario. This scenario, yeah. You determine how many input, you determine which leg will be assigned as input, and then you make some scenario for the number of neuron, and you can try every activation function, or on you choose only several activation function, and you can also determine which pre-processing method you use, or you only employ one of them, and then you can run based on this combination. Okay, but your question is focused on this number of neuron, but actually in general there are several things need to be considered. Therefore, in our study, we have this design of experiment, right? in the sense of experiment, we already determine the treatment is the input in which leg, and then the number of neuron, and then the activation function, and then the pre-processing procedure. Then for every this treatment, we have some level. Let's say if the treatment is the input, the level is we choose the like 7, we choose like 14, we choose like others, and so on and so forth. It is just like in the sense of experiment, and then we can put the output into the table, and further we can analyze using analysis of variant or ANOVA if we want to go into that detail, or later on you can read this paper. Okay, thank you. I think is it is time for break, right? Marcela?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dedi, for the second session. So, for all participants, we will continue the next session, the third session, at 1 p.m. in Indonesian time. So please don't leave the Zoom meeting and come back at 12:50 p.m. in Indonesian time. Now, all the participants can have a break. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Marcela. Thank you all participants. See you then after the break.